Anderson, Director of Voter Registration. I'm here today to present the that I would like to have publication in the Lebanon Daily News and in the Sun, the Humboldt Sun, required by the election code that we're in 2 daily newspapers. I put together a packet, and I have extras if you need. I know I gave you guys, but if you, and then also I'm here for approval on the sample ballots. There's 5 styles of the ballot for this general election based on the congressional and the legislative districts that we have. And so I have given you examples of those ballots in that presentation material as well. I have asked ITS to put it on the Lebanon County website as well, those sample ballots, and we actually have a voting machine that is available now in the hallway that has, I've loaded all of the different precincts, all 55 precincts, so if somebody would like to come in and actually see what the machine will look like on election day, that machine is ready to do that as well. And I also presented, wanted to run some quick numbers since we actually finally have now processed all of our registrations, not only online from the state database, but also from those that we received, new registration numbers, and what we have so far is what we've processed for absentee ballots. 2,117 absentee ballots at this point that have been requested that we have processed and sent, and we have about just over 1,000 that we have received back. That deadline for requesting an absentee ballot to do the application, is November 1st. We anticipated being closer to the numbers that we saw in 2008, which we did a little over 3,000 absentee ballots. As far as the registration numbers, we finished up at 86,899 registered voters here in Lebanon County. My staff did an excellent job of processing everything. I want to recognize them. They worked very hard in getting all of that done. One of the local parties did a lot of registration drives and brought in a lot of registrations, and they did an excellent job of getting through those and processing those so that everything was done for the election.
Very good. Secondly, I just want to make a comment just to clarify. We've not been in the Humboldtstown newspaper before, and that may seem a little odd, but Michael did a little bit, well, not a little bit, a lot more research into the requirement of that section of the code and checked with the solicitor, and while we had been in the merchandiser before, it's required that it be a newspaper, 2 newspapers of general circulation that charge for their newspaper.
Correct.
So it has to be a newspaper that has a cost. The Humboldtstown does reach into areas of Palmyra, and so that's
that was actually one of the solicitors' suggestions as far as a newspaper that we would be able to hit Lebanon County residents, but also being aware of the fact that we do have a budget, and this does cost money to put this in the newspaper. Right now, the estimate with the Lebanon Daily News is about $2,900 for that cost of running that ad. That has to run between October 29th and November 5th. Right now, we're looking at probably running that ad on the 30th of October.
One of the parties was pretty aggressive.
Yes.
Can you
Absolutely, Democratic Party.
Democratic.
Yes. Yep, they've worked very well with our office as far as being very understanding of what we needed, and coming in and getting the registration forms and making sure they're completed the way they needed to be. But yeah, they have been, at least since I've been there in August, that party has been very aggressive as far as having fundraisers and in communicating with our office as far as just asking questions, things like that. And anytime I do anything with any party, I always will and have given that invitation to the other party. For instance, I did come and speak to the Democratic Party, asked me to go and just introduce myself and kind of give an update of what was going on with the election. That was back in August, I believe. And then I obviously I did express that invitation to the Republican Party to do that as well. But at this point, it's been mostly the Democratic Party we've heard from.
can you tell us or to reassure voters about the soundness of the voting here in Lebanon County? And is anything happening on the state level that you can share?
Sure. Basically, the state has just, they've given us kind of best practices to follow to make sure, just kind of, things to just keep in mind as far as, security and reminders about best practice with our voting machines, which we use the Ivotronic machines. So what we have done, and we do this every year, is that we have testing on those machines. We have actually a vendor, William Penn, come in, and they will go through all of our machines. They will make sure any maintenance that needs to be done with them is done. Then they do a testing, which I'm involved in, where they'll actually go through and do test balloting on those machines and give me those results, which then I run and check and kind of do. For me, it was nice because it was my first kind of mock election, so we were able to do that. And then what they do is they go what we call clear and test all of the machines. They clear all the voting, anything that would have been on them, they clear it off. Then they actually take my electronic ballots that I create and make sure that the ballot information that we have an assigned machine for each polling place, that then they take the ballot and then they'll make sure that that ballot comes up based on what I've given them. And then once they have done all of that, they've cleared it, made sure everything is correct, then they actually will close up the machines, and then we actually lock them down, tie them down. That way we have, and then they're locked in the storage area until they're going to be delivered to the polling places. And they actually have these seals that for anybody to be able to open or do anything with that machine, they would have to break that seal. And if for whatever reason those seals are broken, then immediately, if we're aware of it, or if it's actually a poll worker that finds it, like the judge of elections, they're supposed to immediately contact us. So we have done everything on our end to make sure that everything is going to be fair. Obviously, we do poll worker training here in Lebanon County, where we talk about the different issues that are going to come up. The parties have the option, and the candidates, to have poll watchers. So we talked about poll watcher certificates and the roles that they could play. Our poll workers, most of them are seasoned, have been doing this for many years, have done it for many elections, and so they're well aware of the different things that could occur. But we've reached out to the constables to ask them to be peacekeepers on election day, so to be present in their areas, so that just to be there and make sure that nothing is out of ordinary, I would say. And then obviously with registration, we follow all the guidelines needed to make sure that everything gets processed correctly and that the people say that they are. But the bottom line is that they sign a statement that attests that they are who they say they are, and that they are eligible voters in the county of Lebanon. And so there's different cross-checks that happens these days, especially with those that have driver's license. There's a lot of cross-check between the information we have, what the Department of Transportation has, because a lot of that is linked by driver's license numbers if they have one. I feel very confident, not only here in Lebanon County, but throughout the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, because I've spoken to many of the different directors, that we're going to be ready for this election. It will be a fair election, and every vote that is cast will be counted.
If I may add,
Absolutely.
the voting machines are not attached to the internet.
Correct.
So there's no ability to hack into them through Wi-Fi or any other means.
Correct.
And I think people need to know that. And we don't have the same voting machines in every county throughout the state, so it's not that like they could hack into one system and affect the whole state. It just can't happen.
Correct. Some counties have paper ballots, some counties have the DRE, which we have the actual press machines. So yes, it's different throughout the state. Every state director, every county director takes pride in their jobs and making sure that all that information is, like you said, you can't hack an actual machine itself, and the way we process the information through to the state itself for election results is done through a portal. However, everything that we receive gets downloaded on a machine that is not hooked on to an internet as well, so there's no hacking going on there.
And
so
we certify the results in writing as well.
Correct, we do, yes, and we even have the backup plan of even faxing it if we want to, so. You know, all of that, all those types of scenarios have been looked at, and there's always backup plans if there is some type of issue as far as, because even here in Lebanon County, we have our ITS, which is one of the things I'll be talking to them, is we back up the state voter database, actually gets backed up for just our county on our local servers through the I-5 that we have here. So we have a backup of that in case something happens where that state system database would possibly could be hacked. So all those different things that we looked at.
I think Gordy had a question.
Sure.
You mentioned registration numbers overall. Have you broken that down into parties?
Yes, it actually is on the information here that I gave you. Actually, someone probably has my copy that has some of that all written out. But as you can see here, that at this point we have 47,201 registered Republicans, 27,324 registered Democrats, and the rest of that then would fall into what we kind of group it into an other, but it would be like independents, libertarians, Green Party, that such would make up the difference of that.
Are you prepared to make your prognostication on voter turnout?
I am not yet prepared to do that. I should have probably been prepared to do that this time, but I can definitely touch base with both of you and give you that. But my thought is that we're going to probably be pretty close to the levels of 2008. That's what we're anticipating, which was one of the highest turnouts that we had. That's what we're thinking is going to happen.
What percentage was that, do you remember?
I don't off the top of my head, and I apologize.
Sorry to put you on the spot.
No, that's okay. I probably should have had that. I'm sorry.
I think it was in the 80s.
Yeah, it was pretty high. I was thinking 70s, but yeah, I know I looked at it, but
That's incredible.
it was very high.
Good. Do you want to, since we had such a airing of the provisional ballot for the military thing, do you want to just talk about that?
Sure, absolutely.
Bill, are you okay with continuing that discussion just to finish that so that we don't have to have another meeting? Are you okay with what you've heard? Would you like to hear more regarding the military provisional ballot?
Is he with us?
I don't know.
There is one more thing I wanted to add to that. We can wait till nobody lost it.
Yes.
We lost you for a moment.
Yeah, I don't know what happened.
All right.
Bill, we were just talking with Michael Anderson about, the information that he's sharing about the election, but we thought maybe if it was okay with you and Commissioner Litz that we just dealt with the provisional ballot question that Michael was explaining, excuse me, earlier when Dave Weisnick was here. Do you want to?
Yes, I actually spoke to that, but for some reason or other, I guess I was cut off. But I certainly think his proposal to have them sign the book in the back of the book and then use a provisional ballot makes a lot more sense than what evidently was previously done, where they were actually allowed to vote on the machine, which would be irreversible if there had been something out of place.
And Michael said he has a little something more to add to that, so I'm glad you're back with us.
Yeah. One of the other steps that we instructed when we had, and this all kind of came about, and I will definitely give my poll workers credit for raising the issue. But one of the things that came up too was our policy normally on provisional ballots is anytime they want to use a provisional ballot or an emergency ballot for that matter, they always need to call our office and get approval for that. And so what I had kind of suggested was that, or my thought process was that, we kind of keep that policy in place, that if they do have a military person come and they cannot find them in the book, they give a call to us, let us know what's going on, and then we would kind of give approval for that to occur as far as writing them in the back and letting them have the provisional ballot, just because that way it keeps it kind of the same procedure that we have in place for any time we use a provisional ballot. And then what I instructed some of the poll workers in the locations where we think it may occur a lot is that if it starts occurring a lot, that maybe at that point we could look at saying, okay, just follow this procedure the rest of the way. It's okay to use provisional ballots. You don't have to call every time. But I didn't want to just give that green light until I kind of knew how many or how much it was going to actually occur. So they've been instructed at this point to follow the procedure that's always been in place with provisional ballots, is to call first before and get permission before you give out a provisional ballot.
Okay. Commissioner Litz?
Yes. Have you given thought to allowing texting or emailing because the phone lines could get overwhelmed?
The reason, we did talk about that and actually had that question, but the issue would be, at this point, would be that they would have to most likely text or email me. And my only issue with that is that I anticipate having to help out the staff answer those phone calls. And one of the things that also was requested of us is to possibly have more phone lines than we have, which we really will have 4 as they come through. Our only issue with that is that, who is going to actually be able to answer the questions that people have. And yes, we can recruit some fine county employees to perhaps help on that day, but the bottom line is that they don't really know the answers. And so what would happen is we would be on phone calls trying to help people, and the people trying to help us would just be coming over to ask us the answer to that question. And so we thought it just made a lot of sense just to keep it the way we have it. We'll answer the questions as quickly as possible, and then we just ask them to have patience, just because we just felt like that would probably be the best way to handle it. And we are going to have somebody, our vendor from ES&S will be here, that will have a direct line just for machine issues. So if there's a machine issue, there's a direct line just for that. Anything else would then come through the main line that rings to those 4 phones that I'm talking about.
Anything else? Many questions for Michael?
Would you like a
I do need action on the sample ballot and approval of the notice that I would like to have published in those newspapers that we talked about at the beginning.
I'll move to approve the sample ballots that were presented.
I'll second that motion.
Motion is second to approve the sample ballot for the election for November 8th. Any questions or comment? If not, all in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same sign, so moved. Seek a motion to approve the
Notice
publication
election.
of the ad. Thank you.
I make a motion to approve the publishing of the ad as presented.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any question? If not, all in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same sign, so moved.